welcome to a new edition of Espacio Inspira. Today with a very special guest, one of the most influential historians and writers in the world, Yuval Noah HARARI. Welcome.
It's good to be here, thank you.
Welcome and thank you for attending our invitation and attending to our event on future healthcare. It's a great honor for us, you to be here.
Thank you.
You are the author of several books into 65 languages with more than 40 million copies sold worldwide. But probably Sapiens was the book that changed your life.
Yeah.
Changed your life. And the main reason was you became known all over the world. That book was recommended by Barack Obama, was recommended by Bill Gates, among many others. Here, the first question. Why did you decide to write a book about the history of humanity?
It's really in order to understand the world in which we live right now, because I don't think that history is about the past. History is about change. It's trying to understand how things change. You know, all the people in the past, they are dead, they are gone. They don't care what we say about them, what we think about them. But without understanding the past, we can't even understand what is new about the present. Like, I'm looking at the AI revolution, and I see that many people are confused about the meaning of the AI revolution. And history gives us a simple answer. When you study history, you understand what's new about AI. It's the first tool ever invented that can make decisions by itself. You know, people say, oh, it's like the printing press, it's like radio, we'll get used to it. But when you study history, you realize it's not like the printing press, it's not like radio, it's not even like nuclear weapons. An atom bomb can destroy a city, but it cannot decide things for itself. It cannot decide whether to bomb a city or not. It's always a human decision. AI is the first invention in history, the first tool that can make decisions by itself, including decisions about us. So this is, for instance, an insight that we can gain only by looking at thousands of years of history to give us perspective on what is happening right now.
What do you think is the main challenge humans will face in the next coming decades?
So one challenge we just spoke about is its rise of artificial intelligence, how to control it and make sure it is used for good. It has enormous positive potential, but also enormous dangerous potential. And again, it's the first tool that can make decisions by itself, so it can escape our control and start making the decisions for us. So this is one very big challenge, how to keep it under our control. Another big challenge, of course, is the ecological challenge, that how we avoid destroying the ecological basis for our civilization. We are still animals, basically. We are not AI, we are not bionic, we are organic beings like chimpanzees, like dolphins, and if we destroy the ecological system, we will be gone with it. So that's the second big challenge. And maybe the most important challenge is how to cooperate between ourselves. Because if humans cooperate, we can overcome the ecological challenge and we can keep AI under control. But if we fail to cooperate, then there is really no hope. And over the last few years, we see that the tensions within the international community just keep rising. We are faced by these enormous challenges, and instead of uniting, we are increasingly fighting each other. We saw it also during the pandemic, when humanity had this single common enemy, the virus, and nevertheless we failed to unite against it. So this, I think, is the most important challenge.
I had the opportunity to read in one of your books, I think it was Amadeus, the flexible cooperation, that is the main tool to develop humanity. So.
Absolutely, yeah, that's our superpower. I mean, we control the world in the first place because we can cooperate, you know, in millions of people can cooperate, and chimpanzees can't, and lions can't. This is what really makes us strong. It's not the individual strength or intelligence. On the individual level, we are not stronger or smarter than other animals. But because we can create these huge networks of cooperation, this is what makes us so powerful.
You mentioned artificial intelligence. How do you think technology is transforming us, and do you see opportunities?
In AI?
Technology in general.
Of course. I mean, again, technology is always has positive and negative potential. You know, you invent a knife, you can use the knife to murder somebody, or you can use the knife in surgery to save their life. Also, when we talk about modern technology, so I talk a lot about the negative sides of technology, about the dangers, mainly because this is my job. I mean, you have all these entrepreneurs and engineers who develop the technology. So obviously, they keep talking about all the wonderful things it can do for us. And it can do for us wonderful things, improve healthcare, help us deal with climate change and so forth. But there are also dangers which they tend not to speak about very much. So then it's my job as a historian, as a philosopher, to warn people about the more dangerous scenarios. But I'm of course aware of the good side of technology. I'll give an example from my own life. I met my husband online more than 20 years ago in one of the first dating sites for gay people in Israel. And you know, I grew up in a very homophobic society, and it was very difficult to meet people. And when the internet came, it was a wonderful thing because it enabled people living in different places to suddenly connect much more easily. So I'm personally grateful for the people who invented this technology. But I'm also aware, again, of the dangerous sides of the internet, of social media. We saw in recent years how social media algorithms have deliberately spread hatred and outrage and conspiracy theories just in order to increase user engagement. YouTube and Facebook, they gave their algorithms this task of increased user engagement because this was the basis of their business model. More user engagement, more revenues. They didn't realize that the algorithms will discover that the easiest way to increase user engagement is outrage. That if you show someone a video with some conspiracy theory that frightens them and spreads hatred, then people are attracted to that. And if you show something far more moderate and sensible, then people are less engaged. And this created an epidemic of fake news and conspiracy theories and hatred, which is undermining Western democracies and democracies all over the world, actually. And you know, just think about this paradox that a country like the United States today has the most powerful information technology in history, and yet Americans are no longer able to agree even on who won the last elections or whether vaccines prevent illnesses or cause illnesses. How is it possible that they have the most sophisticated information technology in history and they can no longer talk with each other? They can no longer agree on anything. So this is the double-edged swords of all these new information technologies. Yes, they can connect people more easily than ever before, but they can also drive people apart if you use the technology in the wrong way.
You mentioned technology on healthcare.
Yes.
What would be your advice to healthcare organizations?
Ooh. Well, there's so many things to say. Again, I would emphasize two things. I mean, the new technologies have so much potential to improve healthcare. You know, you can monitor people's health like we never could before and discover illnesses like cancer or even flu when they are just beginning, and it's much easier and cheaper to deal with them. We can do that not just on the level of an individual, also on the level of society. You know, when an epidemic starts, we can use technology to monitor the population and understand that an epidemic is about to erupt before it happens and stop it. So the positive potential is enormous. But again, there is a downside. We have to be very careful about two things in particular. One is privacy. That yes, we have more data about people and we use it to help them keep healthy and to protect also society from epidemics. This is a good thing. But we have to make sure that the data is not used to manipulate people, is not being sold to third parties for all kinds of other purposes. My data should be used to make me healthy. That's it. And this is a very simple principle that we had it, for centuries. It's not something new. Even decades ago, when I go to my personal physician, I often tell the physician, or the physician discovers very, very private things about me that maybe even my family members don't know. And I trust my doctor with all this very private information, that the doctor will use it only to help me and perhaps also other patients if they make some medical research, and doesn't abuse the trust, doesn't abuse my information, again, selling it to a third party or whatever. So we should have the same principle also today. And the other thing I would put an emphasis on is that I think we are likely to see a mental health crisis in the coming years because of the new technology. Even if the new technology is used primarily for good, nevertheless, it will create immense changes in the world, in the job market, in daily life. And change is always stressful. Even if you get the best help to adapt to the change is stress. This is very clear. Just imagine the situation when the job market keep developing, changing because of the AI revolution. Old jobs disappear, new jobs emerge, but the new jobs themselves keep changing all the time. People will have to continually adapt, learn new skills, move between professions, between jobs. This will create immense mental stress. And I hope that the healthcare systems will help people deal with that, because this will be the most difficult. If we can deal with the psychological stress involved by all these changes, I think we'll be okay. But really, there is a limit. I mean, again, there is a kind of mismatch. We are organic beings, whereas the technology is bionic, is digital, and it develops much faster than our body can adapt. Again, our body is amazing at adapting. Just talking together here, new synapses are constantly being created in the brain. The brain is not fixed entity, that you are born with a certain brain, or by the age of 20, you develop a certain brain structure, and that's it. You'll never be able to change again. No, we change every minute. And just hearing this conversation changes a little our brain structure. Old synapses maybe are strengthened, new synapses are created, and the brain structure is changed a little. But this takes time. And as the speed of technological development accelerates, so the stress on our biological system to adapt increases. And we need the support of society, of, mental health treatments in order to just not to collapse.
But very, very interesting, as you said, mental health is a problem all over the world. But what kind of solution could we have to reduce the level of technology?
No. I mean, first of all, I would say slow down the deployment of technology into, there is one thing to develop something new in your laboratory. It's another thing to just release it to the public sphere. In medicine, you do research in your laboratory on some new medicine, some new drug. You don't immediately release it. You have to go through a process of checking the side effects, the long-term side effects, before you get a license, a permission to give it to people. It should be the same with new AI tools, that they also must go through this process of vetting to make sure that they don't have harmful side effects. So that's one thing, which will, again, a little slowing down of the deployment into society, which allows society more time to adapt. Another thing that I would say is that, again, we have very traditional ways of improving our mental health, and they are still very relevant, whether it's psychotherapy, whether it's I meditate, for instance. It's thousands of years old therapy that I meditate 2 hours every day. I go every year to around 1 month or 2 months of meditation retreat. I realize this is extreme and most people don't have the time or the inclination to do it. But whatever works for you. You know, other people, they do sports, they do art, they go hiking in the mountains. All these things, for centuries we knew. They are good for our mental health. And so, you know, just check what works for you. If you don't like meditation and you don't want to go to therapy, but you like hiking, then very important to make time for that. Because again, the pace of life keeps accelerating, and our bodies and our minds are not built to be constantly on. The thing about digital devices, they can always be on, which is very simple but very profound. The body cannot be always on. We have to sleep every day. You know, even the stock exchange, you go to Wall Street, let's say it's, you just got a wonderful tip about a stock, and it's Friday, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You will not be able to buy that stock until Monday morning because the stock exchange is closed. And this is a human institution. The stock exchange goes to sleep, takes a weekend off from Friday afternoon till Monday morning. Now, digital devices, they are never off. They are always on. As digital devices take over, for instance, the stock exchange, it will be open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, which may be good for some economic transactions, but bad for people. They can't keep up with it. And, you know, even if you're a president or a prime minister, you need to sleep. But the news are always on. And if you're a worker in some company, so you want to go home and relax, but you're constantly connected with your smartphone. Your boss can reach you at any moment, at any day, any hour. And this is not good for us. And we are not digital devices. We are organic entities. And organic entities, you know, from flowers to humans, we have cycles. So also taking like 1 week or 2 weeks off to go hiking in the mountains, this is time off for us to relax and recuperate and recalibrate. And finally, I would say that we have to be very careful about, and we are flooded by enormous amounts of information which overwhelm our system. We are not built for dealing with so much information. The same way we are very careful about the food we take into our body. Information is mental food. So we need like an information diet to be very careful about the quantities and qualities of the information that we take in. You eat junk food, your body will be junk. You give junk food to the mind, your mind will be full of junk. It's as simple as that.
Really, really interesting and important one. Who inspires you? Who are Yuval Noah Harari's references?
You know, in my work, in my research, two big inspirations were Jared Diamond, who wrote Guns, Germs and Steel. I read it when I was in university, and it really kind of blew my mind, not just because of the ideas it contained, but simply because of its scope. That it made me realize that you can be a scientist, a scholar, and still write these books about immense subjects covering tens of thousands of years in the entire world. And another big inspiration was Frans de Waal, who is a primatologist. He studies chimpanzees and gorillas and orangutans. And also at roughly the same time, I read his book, Chimpanzee Politics, which it's about the politics of a chimpanzee band, like alliances and coalitions and so forth. And besides the fact that it was a very fun book, it really changed my understanding both of animals like chimpanzees and also of ourselves, and made me also realize that we are animals, that we are very special animals, but that if you want to understand humans, you must understand biology. Everything that happens in history, in society, in politics, is ultimately based on biology.
One of your projects, which I think is less known, is Sapiens, a social impact company with projects in the fields of entertainment and education. What's your goal with this organization?
My husband and I, we founded Sapiens a couple of years ago, and the aim is to focus the global conversation on the most important subjects. on the most important threats that face humanity. Because what you see is that, like I mentioned earlier, with all these algorithms on social media that control our attention, they often divert the conversation to less important issues or even to complete fake issues. And that, ultimately, democracy and even all human societies are a conversation between people. And if the conversation focuses on the wrong subject, then even if you, in the end, find the ideal solution to that problem and you miss much bigger problems, that's not good. If we don't prevent catastrophic climate change, and if we don't find a way to control and regulate explosive technologies like artificial intelligence, nothing else really matters. Even if we manage on a small scale to solve this or that problem, human civilization will collapse. If the ecological system will collapse, or if powerful technologies like artificial intelligence will break out of our control.
Well, we don't have too much time, but let me, one final question. Mm-hmm. May 2028.
Yes.
What would you like? How would you like that the world is living? What has changed and what kind of life we are living?
In May 2028. Well, and I hope that we find a way to contain the explosive power of artificial intelligence, that we manage to keep the democratic conversation going on, and that we use this conversation and our power of cooperation in order to at least make significant advances towards solving the ecological crisis. It sounds like, 5 years. Doesn't sound like a lot of time, but now it's the first time in history, I think, that we really have no idea how the world would look like in just 5 years. Of course, humans could never predict political developments, the eruption of wars, epidemics. This was always surprises. But now when you look 5 years to the future, you don't know even how the job market would look like. You don't know what kind of technologies will dominate the world. And this creates so much uncertainty and so much stress. But I think on the good side, what we can say is that even though technologies like AI are nowhere near their full potential, human beings are also nowhere near our full potential. We have this amazing ability to keep adapting, to keep changing. And I think that if for every euro and every minute that we invest in developing our artificial intelligence and genetic engineering and all these tools, if we also invest a euro and a minute in developing ourselves, in developing our minds, in keeping ourselves healthy and balanced, then we will be okay.
Yuval Noah HARARI, thank you so much for attending our invitation. It has been a great honor for us to be here today. And to all of you, we see you at the next edition of Espacio Inspira. Thank you so much.